Matthew Patterson was a successful, well-established, happy man living in a nice apartment on the 7th floor of a fancy condo in Manhattan, New York. He had a well-paying job as a market analyst at the BII Corp and was looking forward to a bright future ahead. Or at least, he was. Until he got sacked from the job, spent all his savings, didn't have the money to pay the mortgage of his expensive apartment, neither for his expensive car. Heck, he didn't even have money to pay for his phone bill, let alone the installments of his new cell phone. And after a few months of zero payments, the bank seized everything from him. And Matthew had to get out in a week's notice and was now left with only two options. After being rejected from yet another job interview, Matthew climbed up 40 stories and stood there on the roof of the skyscraper. Looking down onto Wall Street, he had nothing to live for anymore. He looked at the busy flux of people, the cars speeding by, and closed his eyes. Option number 1, to jump. No, I can't do this. I'm too young to die. So Matthew decided to go with option number 2, to move back with his parents at the age of 35. Dude, consider yourself lucky, getting to live free of rent and bills, unless you wanna move in with me. Darn, the landlady's toilet got clogged again. Don't worry, it's usually not that bad in here. No, thank you. And you haven't met my parents yet. I'm getting a job. I'm gonna be out of there in a month. By the way, can you help me take the boxes? You know I don't have a car anymore. Yeah, sure, buddy. And so, Matthew arrived back home in Old Saybrook, Connecticut the very next day. Matthew, you're here all of a sudden? You didn't even call. Mom, Dad, I have good news for you, Matthew said, wrapping his arms around his parents and heading inside. What is it, son? Mr. and Mrs. Patterson looked at their son, smiling, excited to know the good news. Did he get a promotion? Did he meet someone? Was he getting married? I'm going to move back in with you guys. Suddenly, the look on Mr. and Mrs. Patterson's face changed. But just before they could get in on the details, the bell suddenly rang again. Oh, that must be Sean. He helped bring all my things. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson watched as their son and his friend hurried out and carried back a few boxes. Thanks for everything, dude. No problem, I'll see you around. Bye, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. That's it? These are all your things? These 4 flimsy cardboard boxes? What happened to your furniture, your car? Right, about that. I got fired, I don't have a job anymore, and I lost my apartment, my car. I don't even have my laptop, my tablets or my phone. My credit cards are all maxed out. This is all I have now. So you're pretty much left with whatever we gave you. Welcome home, son. Exactly. When Matthew went up to his old bedroom, he was instantly struck with nostalgia. He had moved out when he was 18, and his room was just like how he left it. But now, the single bed seemed too small to fit into. The race car bed sheets looked ridiculous. And the heavy metal posters haunted him. While he tried to make himself comfortable again in the new situation, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson were trying to figure things out themselves. You're spoiling him, like you always did. It's only gonna be a few months, Albert. He's our baby, our child. We can't just send him out. Psh, your baby. Now he's gonna live with us. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson were retired, living a quiet, peaceful life in their suburban home. But parents had to be parents, no matter how old. Dad, what's up? I was just catching up on the daily news, so have you applied to any jobs yet? I applied to a few companies back in Manhattan. Mr. Patterson peered through his glasses, pointing out a news advertisement. Why don't you apply here? They're looking for a mailboy at the Old Saybrook post office. What? Dad, I'm a graduate. I used to work at one of the biggest corporations in New York. I'm not going to be a mailboy. Why not? Your grandfather did this job his whole life. And you think you're too good for this job? You're too good to do what your grandfather did? Oh, take it easy on the boy, Albert. He just got here. Here you go, Matthew, your juice box. I don't want a juice. Is that fruit punch? The days were going by slow for Matthew, and now with his dad suggesting the most ridiculous offers to him, things were becoming more difficult. Matthew lay down in bed, about to dial up Sean, when his mom barged in through the door. Mom, whatever happened to privacy? You can't barge into my personal space like that. Oh really? Have you forgotten you came out of my personal space, and you're still living in my personal space? There's nothing I haven't seen. I'm the one who wiped your bottom, all right? Now here, I did your laundry. Matthew sighed as his mom left the door wide open and walked out. He got up again, locked the door this time, and finally called up his buddy. Who's this? Hey dude, it's Matt. I'm using my parents' landline now. What's up, bro? How's everything going? Don't ask. Dad wants me to get a job as a mail boy. Hey, what's that noise in the background? Mike's here. We're going to the nightclub. Gonna have some fun tonight. Cool, dude. Can I tag along? Sure. You want us to pick you up? No, absolutely not. Matthew Patterson, how long have you been leading this sort of life? How shameful. A night what? Mom, have you been listening to us? Yes, and you can't go. It's past 9 p.m., long past your curfew. I think I'll talk to you later, Matt. Over the next few days, Matthew found himself following rules that he hadn't followed in the past 18 years. But at the same time, he was getting used to the privileges. Waking up every morning, not having to worry about getting to work, having breakfast ready for you, wearing PJs all day long, playing games on his old PSP, and eating sandwiches with the crust trimmed off. But even the pampering was getting annoying after 2 weeks, and Matthew was tired of staying at home. He was a city guy. He wasn't really used to the quiet roads of Old Saybrook. There weren't even a lot of stores and shops out here. Matthew decided to take a walk around the neighborhood, get to know the place. He met a few of his neighbors too. There was an annoying kid who lived across the street from him, who he didn't like. But he also found someone he did like, a really beautiful girl who sat by the window at a cafe every afternoon at 5, a few blocks down. And after 2 days of watching her, Matthew finally decided to make a move. You read Hubert Stein too? His romantic novels are great. Yeah, they are. I'm Matthew, and you are? I'm Laura. Are you new here? I never saw you around before. Oh, that's because I recently bought my parents a house here, so I decided to stay over for a few days. I actually live in New York. Oh, that's nice. So you're a city guy. I grew up here. I live nearby. And you're a small town girl then. Do you have some spare time for a cup of coffee with me? Or do you need to get going to the barn and churn some butter? What? Well, we small town people do have a lot of spare time to enjoy our lives, but aren't you guys always on the run? Not today. Matthew couldn't give this girl his number. He didn't have one to give, and just imagining her call home to speak to her parents was out of question. So for the next 2 days, Matthew made up excuses to meet again by bumping into her by coincidence. Can you stop bumping into me? I bumped into you or you bumped into me? Oh, so you're clever and pretty. I was actually heading out for a walk, but I don't really know my way around here. You wouldn't mind taking me around, would you? I usually come out here to catch the breeze. It's really relaxing here. It's nice to be away from the busy city life. So what do you do? Me? I work at the BII Corp. I'm in marketing. What about you? I'm a student. I've been trying to get an internship at a fashion company. Oh, so that's what you were sketching at the cafe. You noticed? You know, I could recommend you to a few people. Really? That would be nice. Matthew liked this girl and was obviously not going to tell her he was unemployed and living with his parents. He had to show off. He had to be the strong knight that would pick up the princess on his mighty steed, not some loser. And so far, things were going well, and Matthew was planning to call Laura over to his house. So is drawing a hobby of yours? Yeah, and what about you? Do you have any hobbies? I'm usually busy listening to my old vintage record collection. You collect vintage records? That's cool. I actually have a set at my parents' house. You should come over. But aren't your parents going to be there? Actually, no one's home right now. They went out for the night. Oh, okay, then let's go. Everything was going as planned. Matthew had, of course, prepared for this beforehand. He bought 2 tickets to the latest BII action-adventure movie for his parents and booked them out of the house for the entire evening. Mom, Dad, I got you guys tickets to this new movie. Only 2? You're not going? No, I was thinking you 2 have been doing so much lately, you need a break. When was the last time you guys went on a... And there went Mr. and Mrs. Patterson out the door. The theater was about an hour away, and the movie was 2 hours long, so Matthew had a good 4 hours on hand. By the time he brought Laura home, there was still 2 hours to go. Laura walked around looking at all of Matthew's baby pictures. She picked up a photo frame. You're really close to your parents, aren't you? The only special child? Yeah, we're pretty close. Matthew sat down on the sofa, dimmed out the lights, and took out a few old records. So what about your family? Oh, I live by myself here. You know how parents can be, a little dominating and manipulative. I can't imagine living with my parents. Matthew awkwardly chuckled. Gotta change the topic. Change the topic. Anyways, you wanna listen to music? Sure. But just as Matthew pressed play, he suddenly heard the front door open and a cranky voice shout out. Why is the volume up so high? Matthew, where are you? Matthew froze as his parents walked into the living room staring at Laura and him chilling on the couch. Mr. and Mrs. Patterson, Laura said, deeply embarrassed and shocked herself. Mr. Patterson straightened his glasses and looked at Laura. You brought a girl to the house without our permission? Mrs. Patterson nudged her husband and whispered, Albert, he's a big boy now. She then smiled at Laura. Hi, sweetie, how are you? I'm good, Mrs. Patterson. Laura awkwardly chuckled before she passed a glance at Matthew, who was mortified in embarrassment. Do you live with your mom and dad? It's not what it looks like. What are you guys doing here so early? The movie was boring. Of course it was. Why didn't I expect this? Your father left the theater halfway through the movie. Seeing the family drama about to begin, Laura quickly decided to bail out. I just remembered I needed to be somewhere. I'll see you around. Bye, Mr. and Mrs. Patterson. Matthew stood there, speechless as Laura ran off. You guys just had to ruin it, didn't you? Oh, it will be fine, Matt. I'll go get you a juice box and a Pop-Tart. There's nothing a Pop-Tart can't fix. Matthew was never, ever going to show his face out in public here again. He had never been this embarrassed before. But unfortunately, the very next day, while he was out picking up his mail, he felt someone bump into him. Why are you always bumping into me? Matthew turned to see Laura smirking at him. Hi. So you're the Patterson son? Yeah. I thought you were rich, living in the big city. I was, but I lost my job and my apartment and everything else, and now I'm a grown man living with my parents, Matthew said with a sigh. Laura chuckled. Well, that's not too bad. Don't worry, things will be better. Click on the subscribe button and check out more awesome videos on our channel. And don't forget to press the bell icon because you know it's interesting.